Inspiring Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, good morning. Thank you for sticking with us up from 6:30 in the morning up until this minute. It's time for our agenda segment. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. Now, 1 in every 4 older women experiences gender-based violence, and 1 in every 5 men experiences violence in Uganda. This is according to the Uganda Bureau of Statistics. But the conversation goes deeper. Actually, when some of my colleagues heard that we are going to talk about gender-based violence among the elderly, they were surprised because why would older people experience violence? Some people don't know that the elderly are actually being violated in one way or another. This in Uganda and even globally, there are numbers to represent this. So to have this conversation with me is Prosper Muhumuza, who is the Commissioner, Disability and Elderly Affairs at the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, but also the Minister, Honorable Dominic Gidudu Mafwari, who is the Minister of State for Elderly Affairs, still at the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. Yes, there is a conversation to be had here, and we are going to have the same. So I'll go to you, Mr. Muhumuza, first. When we look at the numbers, 1 in every 4 elder women are being violated, and also 1 in every 5 older men are being violated. Tell us more about the scope of violence regarding older people in the country.
Thank you. Want to thank UBC for hosting us. The situation of violence is as you have put it, but all is not lost. We have what we call forms of violence. We have economic, we have neglect, we have financial, we have gender-based violence. Some people call it domestic. The scope, what we see, our statistics tell us that some of the forms of violence are actually by omission, not by commission.
Yes.
So what we see is Prosper keeps sending money in the village. At some point when he feels that the parents are very old, instead of sending money, he buys items from the trading center and he tells the people at the trading center to be taking home salt, soap, sugar, beans, and is not allowing the parents to buy the items themselves. He's not sending money because he thinks the old people at home, they don't know how to use money well to buy the items at home.
Yes.
Now, this is not deliberate. He thinks he's helping, but that indirectly he's doing violence, financial, because he's not allowing the old man, the old woman, the financial independence, the ability to decide on their own whether they want 1 kilo of posho or not. So you would dictating on how this little money should be used. You are actually forcing them. So the scope is in the sense that we have pockets of deliberate one where we see people being battered, and it's unfortunate and we're here to condemn it. But other forms are more or less by omission and not commission.
All right. Honorable Minister, you are most welcome to Good Morning Uganda.
Yes, thank you very much for receiving us and giving us an opportunity to talk to the nation.
Okay, now let's look at some of the challenges facing or that are faced by the elderly in Uganda, and how exactly is the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development addressing some of these challenges?
Of course, the ministry has set up a particular department to handle the elder affairs. And it sets up policies to guide the whole country and to all the time awaken the people to know that these old people matter as far as the country is concerned. And that you may realize aging is not an event, it's a process.
Yes.
So it's something that the country, the government is aware, and it's a responsibility. And when you look at aging, you kind of weaken. The organs weaken, the thinking, the eyeing, and so on. And that's where someone has to come in. And the person to come in is government. So government tends to take over a lot of activities that would ordinarily be handled by the individual. So they create social protection. They make sure that they monitor the way these people are living. They even find that they have to assist them with the cash and so on. If you look at our country, the rate of employment is low.
Yes.
There's a lot of informal employment, and this formal employment cannot be sustained throughout. As you weaken, it becomes more difficult to make the money. And these fellows who are formally employed, they have pensions and so on. So our governments have a greater responsibility because of our level of development. And we find we have to participate more in the lives of our individual elderly people to make sure that they can have a sustained way of life and feel well. Of course, it involves a lot of money.
Yes.
But at the same time, whatever help we give really helps. And there's no little money, there's no big money, it's what you do with the money. And as far as we are concerned,
Yes.
the government has done quite a lot as far as the elderly are concerned. It has even set a special interest group, affirmative action, to make sure that these people are budgeted for. At the same time, they have set up political structures from the grassroots up to national, where our people are all the time looked after. And the people themselves are in charge at the village level, at sub-county, you come at district, and eventually at national. So as far as we are concerned, the government is moving. And as the budget increases, what goes to the elder will also increase. And also this categorization of age and so on will eventually diminish, so that a set age is set that if you are so much age, you must be assisted.
Yes. Okay. So, Commissioner, I'll come back to you. And I like that the minister did touch on the factor of ageism. And I'm curious to know what is being done to address the issue of ageism and discrimination against older adults in the country.
Ageism, I want to quote what the Honorable Minister normally mentions, what we call intergenerational crisis.
Yes.
Intergenerational crisis is where, as you're seated near the Honorable Minister and is in his 70s and you are in your 30s or 40s, your interests and his interests fail to align. When they fail to align, you start thinking that he's thinking that let this land remain let this family stay together. Don't sell land to go and buy a border. For you, you are like, no, I must sell this piece of land to set up a small salon in town. I must do this. So when you try to look at his point of departure as a point of someone who's already spent force, someone who is no longer thinking big,
Yes.
then you're trying to undermine him just because of age.
That is the ageism.
That's the ageism.
Okay.
Because you as a daughter, you as a granddaughter, you are looking at him as someone who is just rigid, who is just not thinking about the future. And he's also looking at you in the same mirror. He's looking at you as someone who is not being strategic, who is being wasteful. And actually, ageism is a two-way. We have also seen parents or grandparents looking at the young ones as people who can't think about how they should be in the future. And what we encourage is a dividend, that the ideas of the young ones and the ideas of the old ones come together to build a productive family, to build a productive household. So ageism is a discrimination. It's a negative attitude, it's a negative thought, it's a negative perception about someone just because he's very old, just because you think his ideas are also old as he looks.
Okay, now going back to the prevalence of gender-based violence
Yes.
against older adults in Uganda, who are the main perpetrators of this?
Yes, to quickly go through the figures, 84% of gender-based violence or violence against older persons happen in the home, in our homes, 84%.
Okay.
Number two, in Uganda, we are looking at around 30% of our older persons being abused, 30%. And we are looking at, it's very interesting. Statistics are telling us that 60 to 69% of our older persons are abused by male.
By men?
Yes, 60 to 69.
And this 60 to 69 is
Yes.
being abused by men of the same age
No,
or
no, no,
younger?
no. Younger.
Okay.
The sons, the grandsons, and the younger generation. Then 70 and above are being abused by female.
Granddaughters?
Granddaughters,
Daughters.
daughters, fighting over land, fighting over small things in their home. Then another interesting one is that 31% of people who are abusing are actually relatives.
That could be anyone.
Anyone near, it can be a cousin, it can be a niece, it can be whoever. 31% of perpetrators of abuse against older persons are the relatives. And statistically, we are looking at 28% being biological.
Biological.
A daughter or a granddaughter, 28. But you see the difference is not big, 31, 28. So 28 is a biological, is a son, is a daughter, a granddaughter. And the 31 is you're including maybe a bit of distant relatives. But what this is painting to us is that the perpetrators are our own, within our family setup. And that's why earlier on I talked about omission and commission. That apart from physical violence, apart from battering someone, most of these other ones, the emotional, the neglect, the financial, the economic, we see many scenarios of where it's being done by omission than commission. Yes.
Okay, now coming back to you, Honorable Minister, and putting into consideration the numbers that have been shared by the Commissioner, how exactly is the ministry trying to help and safeguard the rights of older adults?
First of all, when you look at society, poverty plays a major part. You really find in very poor families and communities, people tend to interfere too much with each other's lives. And they think what belongs to their relative is theirs.
That's correct.
And they also think that the relatives have a duty towards them. And yet, if you have matured, you should be able to run your own affairs. But also, education comes in. Education, it enlightens people, it makes them think better, and so on and so on. And it makes them explain many things. Of course, on the other part, also religion. Religion has helped society a lot. Love your neighbors, love yourself. Do to others what you want to be done to you. If that was done, there wouldn't be any violence. But then, the people who are not exposed to religion and so on lack this opportunity. But also, the way you, as a wife and husband, bring up your children determines what kind of people they are going to be in society. What you haven't put in, you can't get out. So if the family, the leader of the home is a drunkard, definitely the products will be a problem.
Okay.
So it's a combination of many things. But also at the same time, the government has a big role. And that's why, as the Prosper may tell you, the technical people are working on the policies. And they are also benchmarking with other countries to see how we as Uganda are faring as far as gender-based violence is concerned. And basically, gender-based violence is criminal. And the government must do whatever it can to make sure that it doesn't happen. It's not only through force, but also through sensitization. Take the initiatives of sensitization, let people know what it is. I mean, if you are traveling with an older person in a bus, what should you do? All those kind of things should be automatic, and so on. Technology has also come in.
Yes.
We, the elder people, are not so technical, and like now, digitalization and so on. You find so many things are happening which we look at differently, the various age groups look at differently, and so on. But all in all, again, government must control technology, because again, it may be misleading. So at every junction, government takes full responsibility to ensure that there is harmonious living between the various age groups and so on.
Are there specific initiatives and programs that the government has put in place to secure, first of all, the safety of the older persons in the country, and also to bring to book those that violate them?
In actual fact, first of all, the government has set policies. Like recently, they have had a revised policy on the older persons 2024. The important thing is, first of all, the government must ensure there is peace.
Yes.
The government must ensure there is security, there is respect for each other's rights, and that a home should be respected. That is the castle of somebody, and that's where each person lives and does everything. So now that's why you have policing at the day-to-day level, then you have the army and so on, so that the individual is confident that yes, is secure, is peaceful, and so on. And then the government also has to have the infrastructure. There should be roads, there should be transport, buses and so on, affordable, and so on. The government should be able to regulate and say, no, here you are out of order, here you are doing this. So when you look at society, there must be leadership. And that leadership, like Uganda, we do it democratically. That yes, even the older people participate in choosing their leadership to make sure they get a good government which provide all these things. It will make sure there is a budget, there is good appropriation, the lives are catered for. For instance, health. Health is a major issue. Like now, insurances don't quite take on old people is something we are fighting on, and we are basically succeeding with the Liberty Insurance. They are willing and they are giving us good premiums. But as you realize, health is wealth. When you look at these old people, non-communicable diseases, you need perpetual testing, you need drugs perpetually like diabetes, like hypertension. How can these people afford these drugs? Can government provide them? Like now, we make sure that those older people who are 8 and above get 25,000 per month. Because if we don't give them that money, they may not even touch a shilling in the month. But with that money, a fellow looks, has attained independence, can budget, can do whatever it does. So we really need the government, and that's why Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development has assigned a full department to look after these elderly people, cater for them, make sure that they monitor, they mobilize them. When government brings programs, they make sure they participate. For instance, there is the parish development model, which is open to everybody, but it is our duty. We managed to work hard and we got a 10%. We want these elders to participate, start making a sustainable income. It's not that this older person should buy a car, no. It is money continuously in the pocket, can be able to buy sugar, buy medicine, make independent decisions. Like I told you earlier, with poverty, they lose their independence. But once government creates that kind of environment, then they attain their independence, they are able to support themselves, they are able to answer to certain attacks from various people, and even their children. It forces their children, and it creates a good environment for intergenerational solidarity for these people working together. Let not children think that whenever an old person is ringing, is asking for money.
Yes.
You know, that kind of thing.
And that's very key. It's good that you mention it, because today it seems like attitudes of children towards older people have also changed. Yes. But actually speaking about attitudes, let's look into the other factor that I've witnessed in certain places, especially rural areas, where older persons are accused of witchcraft tendencies. And because of this, there is sometimes, what's this, when a group of attack one person? Yes. So sometimes they're attacked, they're being mob justice. Yes. So there are cases of mob justice against older people in certain communities where if something bad happens on the village, then it is the older person that did it. And are there ways that the ministry is trying to protect these people? Because in many cases you find that they are innocent.
Yes. There's a bit of negative cultural norms still within our families. We have had scenarios if an older person dies in the village, and by coincidence a child dies, there are some cultures which says, oh, this one has gone to light fire to the elderly who passed on a few days or weeks before. Yes, there are stringent sanctions and practices that are in place. We have toll-free lines where we report cases of abuse against older persons. But the starting point is prevention, that we are telling everyone there is nothing like age having a relationship with witchcraft. There's nothing like that. And let's not hide under other factors to also just bring witchcraft against this old lady, against this old man. In most cases, we see a lot of connivance. A certain relative of the old woman wants to sell the land, and then he drives a point of witchcraft. He tries to make sure that he makes neighbors hate this old woman, and they hide under witchcraft. Say, hey, you remember the other child who died the other side? It's because he didn't greet the old woman. And then the story is given some space in the village, slowly by slowly. What we really see is it's a connivance issue, it's a planned issue to ensure that this person is detached from the reality and doesn't defend him or herself. But also to quickly talk about what we see in our gerontological analysis. When we do our gerontological trends to see the key factors to violence, the key factors to gender-based violence against older persons, we are seeing about 5 major ones, and they keep coming in the last 5 years of modeling. One of them is alcoholism. We see it as a cause and an effect. So we see men who take more time in alcohol and spend little time engaging with their wives. In the end, even in their old age, they end up really remaining in the situation of disagreement and conflict because alcohol is taking decisions than the family. The second factor that keeps cropping up is polygamy. We see it as a cause and an effect in that when the family gets a bit of issues and we get some old men marrying young girls at an old age, we see in the end the children of the first wife having issues with this other second wife. And
the younger woman.
The younger woman. And we see it continuing up to the end. It's again an issue of lack of respect for the father, but also an issue of the fact that maybe there was a bit of friction with the first wife when the second wife was coming into play. The third one we are seeing is responsible parenting. It's again a cause and effect because we are seeing young people who are not investing in their children, you are not educating your children, you're spending more money in alcohol, in things which are not productive to your family. We are seeing women giving birth to children and they throw the children to the grandparents, enjoy your life in Kampala. These children in the future, they tend again to do revenge. They tend not to care about their parents or
when
their grandparents as they become older because they feel you were never responsible at the time when they actually also needed you. The other factor we are seeing is poverty. It's also a cause and an effect in terms of abuse. Most of these abuse we are talking about, as the minister highlighted, it's really an issue of survival sometimes. If an old woman, an old man has his money, can buy his sugar, can buy his soap, can buy, he will get the love, he will get the socialization. People will visit and say hello. The phone calls to the children, people, they will pick because they know this person has capacity anyway. They won't be shying away from picking
You won't
the phone.
be an inconvenience.
You won't be an inconvenience. You just want to listen to this encyclopedia telling you about how life used to be and the like. So back to the issue of witchcraft, what we are seeing, those are scattered, isolated scenarios of irresponsible children cases of where you are looking at grandchildren or children who are just looking for scapegoats to ensure that they take away your assets, to ensure that they just grab what is available. And lastly, unemployment among the youth. It's also becoming a trigger to this violence because too much unemployment or unskilled youth, they end up looking at the property of the grandparents, the property of the family as the only survival mechanism.
Okay.
And that really creates a lot of friction against our older persons. Yeah.
Wow, interesting how unemployment of the youth can actually lead to gender-based violence among the older persons in the country. Now, Honorable Minister, you did mention that there is money government gives to the elderly, about 25,000 shillings. Is this monthly?
Actually, that is monthly, but normally they pay it either quarterly or
6 months.
6 months.
6 months.
Mainly quarterly.
Okay. And one person may wonder, is this money really enough? What can someone do with 25,000 shillings?
You see, there is no enough money and too much money.
Yes.
It's what you do with the money. I'll give you an example. There was an old lady in Kabramaido. She was 8 and above. She was getting 25,000, but she left it there for actually a year and a half.
Yes.
So when she got it, it was 450,000. She bought a calf, and that calf grew up and it produced. So when we met her, the cow was again pregnant. So we were excited. Out of 25,000, we saw 2 cows, and the other one is pregnant. And we thought it was something to really be happy about. And the MP for the area was excited. He gave the old lady 500,000 shillings. He says, no, you are steady, you are working hard. So it's not how much, but it's what you do with the money.
Yes.
And also it's what you do with your time. Because a day has 12 hours. And if you are idle, it's a problem. Like now, the government has set up the parish development model. And those people who are not in the money economy, they are giving them 1 million shillings. Now, this money is to make you rich. Now, the richness is categorized. It's not that you are going to buy a car, no. It's not that you will fly out, but to have a sustainable income, that you are able to look after yourself, you are able to have sugar, you are able to have medicine, and so on. And once you are able to look after yourself and you are independent, the respect you get from your community increases. And also the people around you start respecting you. And when you come to leadership, they look forward to you. They say, no, that one is a responsible person, he's hardworking, he looks after himself, he has a happy family, and so on. So what we are looking at, like His Excellency says, he doesn't want to have poor neighbors. We want everybody to be doing some work. And this one, if you put together, as the Muganda says, kamu kamu, gwe Muganda.
Yes.
When you put that together, you have something big, you have a big nation, and so on. Like now, people who are producing coffee, I come from Mount Elgon area. They have small gardens, but when you put together, it's a lot of coffee. And a lot of these people, because he has a coffee garden, he has to work in it every day, he has to put fertilizers, he has to have an annual income. There's no year he will end without getting some money. So they have sustainable incomes. They have built permanent houses, they have done what, and so on. When we went to His Excellency's place, we saw transformation. But a lot of them were succeeding through coffee growing. They had transformed into good homes and so on. So when you improve people's welfare, even this witchcraft doesn't come in, and so on. And also the communities, the children, they are going to school and that kind of thing. But you see, when you have a society that is pitiful, then problems begin to arise. People begin being suspicious of each other. People begin to think that, no, why am I in this situation? Some are even tempted to steal, to do what? That's why the government has set up programs. It says the 80 and above, we give them 25,000. The 60 to 79, called Special Enterprise Grant for older persons, we give them a group about 5 million. Each one gets $1 million. It's a grant, but it helps them to set up enterprises. Then the parish development model, we, the older persons, have our 10%. 10% of 5 trillion is 500 billion in 5 years, which is 100 billion every year, which is 10 million per parish per year. And you can see, I've been doing monitoring. Definitely, this has taken traction, and you can see a lot of change in the people. The discussions have changed. Instead of having idle talk, they are talking of what they are doing. The challenges, how do we overcome them, the way of life, and so on. And even the church people, I can see what they get from the people is going to increase. So they have also to change the way they preach. They must encourage people to work for their lives, and so on. So some of us are optimistic. We see that through these programs, Uganda is changing, and it's changing for the better.
Interesting. Yes, it is changing for the better. But Honorable Minister, before I go to Mr. Muhumuza, how about the older people living with disabilities? How are they being catered to?
You see, God in his wisdom of creation doesn't deny you everything. If you have this disability, you should have something you can do. If the hands are not working, the legs will work.
Yes.
If the legs are not working, the hands will work. First of all, it's important you identify what that fellow with a disability can do. But also, these people have been given a 10% in the parish development model.
Okay.
But also in our ministry, there's a specific department for people with disability geared towards these people's welfare. So they have also been catered for. And they have actually a lot more programs than us, the elderly, because as much as we are older, but we are new as a special interest group, and we are new in the affirmative action. And definitely, you see these people improving, the blind ones, the deaf ones, and so on. You see that their way of life is actually improving, and they are self-sustaining.
Okay, that's a very good walk into the right direction. But now, coming back to you, Commissioner.
Yes.
How is the ministry engaging religious, traditional leaders to, first of all, sensitize the elderly about their rights, but also the people that live with them, the people that are actually abusing them, to have different attitudes?
Yes. One of the ways is we are here now,
Okay.
and I know many religious leaders, many cultural leaders are watching, and we are telling you in the camera that the older persons deserve better. They deserve respect because they earned it many years ago. They deserve to be protected, and their rights should be promoted. But just a quick one to touch on disability and aging. It's the fifth factor that I was mentioning. It's a cause and an effect to gender-based violence or to violence. And what we have done again about older person, SAGE, we are giving 80 years and above 25,000. For older persons with disabilities, we have given them affirmative action within that. So under SAGE, persons with disabilities who are old, they actually get this money at 70.
Okay.
Unlike the others who get at 80 years. Sensitization is at different levels. Government has free airtime through the office of the RDCs across the country. For those who are not aware, the church leaders, the cultural leaders, we are calling upon each of us to contact the office of the RDC and sensitize our people against violence, against abusing the rights of our older persons. Moderator, when an older person goes to a health facility and is not screened for HIV, is not screened for STIs, and the health work says, how can you acquire HIV at your age? That's an abuse. And we are saying, no, stop that. He's like any other human being. He also can have sexual urge. When an older person works in the bank and is not given special treatment to have a special line, that's an abuse. We want the older person in the bank to get preferential treatment in the taxi, in the bus, in the shopping mall. Let's have lines for these older persons. They will feel respected. They will feel happy. The dementia we are talking about, it's a condition that happens. It comes. Don't start saying that, seems this one is a spent force, is gone. No, it's a condition that comes and the person lives with it. We have a big problem of the busy working schedules. Under capitalism, as globally, the care for older persons has generally gone down under capitalism. Because most people are busy with work and there's no one at home to take care of our older persons. Children are in school, older persons or adults are at work. So we recently, through the revised policy, catered for homes of older persons without alternative care mechanisms. And in the future, we shall be seeing homes strictly for those without alternative care, where they have nowhere to go. So we have this home and we have nurses taking care of them.
Nursing homes.
Exactly.
Okay.
So then all our older persons have decent living, they have dignified lives, and we don't have anyone regretting or complaining.
All right, and I'll take those as your parting shots, Commissioner. Now, Honorable Minister, what is your last word to Ugandans regarding domestic violence against older adults in Uganda going forward?
We, of course, as a ministry, is our priority. This gender-based violence should be a thing of the past. But it's a challenge to us. We have to sensitize our people. We have to talk to the religious leaders to spread the message. We have to talk to the cultural leaders to let them know that, yes, people should live harmoniously together and people should feel happy wherever they are. And there should be that intergenerational solidarity where the young people recognize the old people, and the old people also welcome the young people to set an environment of friendliness, of harmonious living, and ensure that, yes, we all are human beings, and age is a process. Whether you like it or not, it has to come. And as far as we are concerned, we must prepare for it, and we must prepare everybody to live harmoniously as a people who are born, who will grow, and who will age and eventually have to go. And whether you like it or not, if you are born, you eventually have to go.
Exactly.
But during the period you are on earth, you should have a very, very human life so that everybody recognizes your existence and you live well.
Well,
Amen.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. And of course, Philly Rutaya said, today is me, tomorrow it is someone else. Also, we cannot pray for longer life and don't expect to be older. So how do we want to be treated when we are older? That which we desire when we are older is what we should do, or how we should treat the elderly today. And that concludes our conversation on gender-based violence among the elderly in Uganda. I've been speaking to Mr. Prosper Muhumuza, the Commissioner Disability and Elderly Affairs at the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, and also the Honourable Minister Dominic Gidudu Mafwari, who is the Minister of State for the Elderly Affairs at the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. And my name is Olive Monica Najima. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Ruben Mpima is coming your way with the sports updates.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, dundalo.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Cities are the engines of growth and development, but as they grow, so do the challenges. Traffic, pollution and inequality can threaten the very fabric of our cities. But there are solutions. Urban development that prioritizes sustainability, equity and innovation can create thriving cities for all. Join Timothy Nyangweso with a panel of experts behind the headlines this Wednesday on Urban Futures as we explore the latest trends and innovations in urban development. Don't miss, only on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Nobody wants to leave. Let's go to PA announcer Eddie Palladino.
Fans now at center court for the presentation of the Larry O'Brien Trophy and the 2024 Bill Russell NBA Finals Most Valuable Player. Please welcome ABC's Lisa Salters.
Thank you. Joined by Boston Celtics owner Wick Grosbeck, our managing partners Steve Paliuka and Bob Epstein, head coach Joe Mazzulla, and president of basketball operations Brad Stevens, and here to present the Larry O'Brien Trophy to the Boston Celtics, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver.
Thank you, Lisa. To the Boston Celtics, congratulations, an NBA record, 18 championships. To Wick, Steve, Bob, where's Brad? Congratulations on assembling